Sponsored by Surfshark. Galaxy S25 Ultra? Old hat. Your Pixel 10 Pro? Ancient history. iPhone 17 Pro Max? Unbox it directly into the trash because the era of Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 phones is here, starting with what could be one of the most interesting handsets of the next generation, the OnePlus 15. OnePlus has enjoyed a return to glory over the past couple of years with their 12 and 13 models boasting faster charging than Samsung, quicker performance than Google, and bigger batteries than Apple or pretty much anyone else in the US market. And so, skipping over the unlucky OnePlus 14, the OnePlus 15 is set to break cover as soon as November 2025, bringing some heat to not just the current year's flagships, but also some of the stuff we're expecting to see going into 2026. So let's jump into what we know so far about the OnePlus 15 and why it might cap off the year with the Android phone you may want to be using in 2026. The dinner plate / stovetop design of the back of the previous OnePlus and Oppo phones is gone, and the OnePlus 15 brings us a more compact camera cluster and flatter chassis than even the previous generation. It's definitely meant to riff on Oppo's new design language from its upcoming Find X9 Pro, but if you ask me, there's more than a little Google Pixel DNA in here as well. Compare the back here, for example, to the most recent Pixel foldables. It's a sharp look, and as you'll know if you've watched any of our recent OnePlus reviews, I was never really a fan of these giant circular camera bulges, so personally I am very happy to see this change. The phone's primary colorway is dubbed Sandstorm, at least in English, with this light earthy tone coming with a metal finish we've not seen in the smartphone world in over a decade. The OnePlus 15 will use an aerospace grade micro arc oxidation finish, and if that sounds slightly familiar, then it's time to fetch your pipe and slippers, Grandpa, because you, like me, have definitely been doing this for way too long. Looking back, this finish was first pioneered by HTC way back in 2012 with the HTC One S, which used a similar micro-arc oxidized finish for added durability, effectively involving dunking the aluminium in a bunch of chemicals and then frying it with thousands of volts of electricity, causing microscopic changes in the metal itself. Now from the One S, we do know that in addition to allegedly being more durable, it has a slightly coarser matte texture with a really unique hand feel. HTC did face some issues with that finish though, with it chipping off in some units, so hopefully the extra decade of technological progress will mean OnePlus's version isn't as susceptible. Meanwhile, around front, there are much smaller bezels to be seen around the screen than earlier OnePlus models, and the borders are significantly more trimmed than Google's Pixel 10 Pro XL at 1.15mm. Good news for all you screen-to-body ratio enthusiasts. The display also comes with the added bragging rights of a 165Hz refresh rate, and this mostly is just a case of bragging rights because, as you may know, anything above 120Hz is really difficult to see on a phone screen, so we'll be paying closer attention to those bezels as well as any potential increase in peak brightness instead. The leaked numbers point to possibly 1800 nits across the entire panel, which would be very respectable. The most impressive section of the leaked OnePlus 15 spec sheet though might actually be its battery capacity. While Google and Samsung and most other brands stick to lithium-ion cells with capacities close to 5000 mAh, OnePlus is pushing even further, with silicon-carbon batteries which can pack more juice into the same physical space thanks to some clever chemistry. The OnePlus 13 is already one of the most capacious phone batteries available in the West, and recent leaks suggest the OnePlus 15 could pack a battery capacity as large as 7000, 7300, or even 7800 mAh, more than 50% larger than most of its direct competitors. There is a caveat though. Some reports suggest that that ultra-high capacity cell may be exclusive to the Chinese market, with global models getting a lower but still pretty chunky 7000 mAh unit. And there is some precedent here. Honor limits its biggest batteries to its home market of China as well. Either way though, plenty of juice to go around even with laptop level performance inside this device. And I don't think anyone's going to be complaining even if it is the lower of the three numbers being bandied around. Charging speed's set to bump up to 120 watts over a wire too, a pretty insane number which would see OnePlus staying at the top of the charts in the West in that category, while wireless charging is tipped to remain at a steady 50 watts. Battery capacity and charging is one of the areas where OnePlus's main rivals in the West, Samsung and Google, have pretty much been on cruise control for the past several generations. Samsung's Ultra series has had the same 5,000 mAh capacity since way back in 2020 and only recently upped its speeds to 65 watts with the current S25 Ultra. Meanwhile, Google has only just crept up to 5,200 mAh in the Pixel 10 Pro XL and never really prioritized fast charging in any of its phones. Samsung has also faced accusations of dragging its feet with camera hardware in recent years, and recent reports suggest no upgrades of any real substance to the imaging system of next year's S26 Ultra. And based on most of those recent reports, it's also set to retain the much derided 3x telephoto at 10 megapixels, which makes any potential upgrades on the OnePlus side all the more interesting. With all this crazy hardware, the OnePlus 15 is shaping up to be a high-performance beast in terms of number crunching, camera, and 5G data. But all of those things also depend on your connection, and that's where this video's sponsor comes in, Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN that helps you secure your online data for added privacy and security. In other words, Surfshark protects you from online threats 24/7 wherever you go. A single plan covers unlimited devices, and Surfshark is supported on all major platforms like iOS, macOS, Android, and Windows. And for added privacy, its no logs policy means Surfshark doesn't track or store what you do online. And it's super fast, with high-speed servers in over 100 locations across the globe, so you can appear as if you're browsing from anywhere in the world, crucial in a world of increasing content geo-restrictions. Even better, the alert feature can notify you the moment your email, ID, credit card, or other personal data gets leaked online. Or to preempt the bad guys, Alt ID can create a whole separate virtual identity for you. So hit the link in the description to get Surfshark for the equivalent of just $1.89 per month, plus 4 months extra free. Thanks to Surfshark for sponsoring. Now back to the video. Based on leaks from Chinese social media, it seems like OnePlus is back with another triple camera setup with modest upgrades or possibly even some downgrades on the camera side. Reports are somewhat contradictory, especially around OnePlus 15's telephoto and primary cameras, but a baseline of a triple 50 megapixel setup does seem pretty reasonable, and Oppo's Find X9 features a camera setup that's basically identical to the current OnePlus 13, only in a new compact camera protrusion. So it seems unlikely OnePlus would have moved to a smaller sensor just to get everything to fit into that smaller camera module. What we do know for sure though is that OnePlus is ditching Hasselblad this time around. After 4 years of partnership, OnePlus is switching to its own image processing engine dubbed Detail Max. Apparently prioritizing clarity and true-to-life photos. Specific details, if you excuse the pun, are light on exactly what this means and how the look of OnePlus photos will change from the old Hasselblad era. Nevertheless, I would expect some changes, and for those changes to likely come in the form of new AI detail enhancements and blur reduction features, which we of course have been seeing from plenty of brands this year already. I think if you're looking at things like raw zoom performance, likely Google will still pull ahead with its ProRes zoom feature on the Pixel 10 Pro series, but who knows, the camera hardware of the OnePlus 15 is likely to not be too far behind the Pixel or the S25 Ultra. And there's every chance that with a Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 underpinning all those AI features, it will more than hold its own. It would be really cool to see one of those new 200 megapixel sensors in any of the OnePlus 15's cameras, but given the direction of travel from the cameras of parent brand Oppo, I think that is pretty unlikely to happen. Software-wise, we're not expecting to see any sweeping visual changes to OnePlus's Oxygen OS. Instead, the new stuff in version 16 is likely to be based around deeper AI functionality, and specifically deeper integration with Google's Gemini AI. The OnePlus Mindspace, which if you're not familiar is the kind of AI-powered virtual storage space similar to Pixel screenshots on Google's phones, should be getting fully plugged into Gemini according to early announcements. And to aid with that, the OnePlus 15 will also be getting an additional programmable button intended to work as an AI shortcut, while also serving as a replacement for the old alert slider that was seen in some variants of the OnePlus 13. As always, how useful these features are is going to depend entirely on how much you put into them, but Mindspace with Gemini could be a neat addition if you use your phone for things like travel plans, home improvements, and similar tasks. Another key unknown is just how long the OnePlus 15 will be supported with software updates. because it's previously lagged behind the 7 to 8 years of OS updates and patches promised by brands like Google and Samsung. And it hasn't always been speedy about rolling them out for anything other than the very latest flagship models. And that's a concern even if OnePlus undercuts those brands on price. So what about release date and pricing? Well, the OnePlus 13 broke cover in China in late 2024 before getting a full global launch in January of 2025. And that's typically been how Chinese brands do things, launch pretty soon in their home market and then have a Western launch usually in the following year. But with the early arrival of the new Snapdragon chip this year, all signs point to OnePlus pushing for a much more aggressive international release schedule for the 15. The Chinese launch is a lock apparently for October 27th, and a late-breaking report from 91 Mobile suggests a Western release could be on the cards for as early as November 13th, 2 months earlier than big rival Samsung, whose S26 isn't expected until mid-January. And if OnePlus can offer the same chip, equally impressive physical hardware, a humongous battery by recent standards, way faster charging, and comparable camera and AI features, while also coming to market 2 months earlier, well, it could very well mean trouble for Samsung. And given that OnePlus should be able to trounce Google in terms of gaming performance while offering a display with a higher refresh rate and slimmer borders, while also being able to undercut both major brands on price, especially now that they're no longer paying to license the Hasselblad brand for their cameras, the OnePlus 15 could emerge as the best Android phone of 2026 before that year even begins. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts. How do you think the OnePlus 15 will fare if and when it breaks cover in the next couple of months? Are Samsung and Google really in trouble? And what about Apple now that Qualcomm's latest chip pretty much out-benchmarks the A19 Pro from its latest phones? Share your thoughts in the comments, stick around for more coverage and comparisons when we get the OnePlus 15 in our own hands. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.